Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another tutorial for Lightwork. As you can see, this tutorial is relevant to version 1.1.2, which you can find down on the bottom left corner. Obviously, as more updates come out, new features will appear and this will become a redundant or an outdated video. We'll try and keep up to date, but they won't come out for every version, so you just need to keep that in mind. In previous videos, we've talked about the home screen, also done a certificate quote tool. This time we're going to go into the body of the app, which is where you start actually entering all the details and collecting all the evidence for jobs that you're doing. So the way to do that is get into the job list, and here will be a list of all the jobs. So say you've done 50 or 100 jobs, there'll be a big list here, and you can either sort them by whatever means you want up there by clicking sort by order created, date modified, for example, just so you can have them viewed in the way that you want. I've only got 2 in here. This one doesn't have a name, but there's 2. Or you can search as well for the job you're looking for. Up here there's also an option, that little plus is to create a new job, or the cloud there is basically going to talk to the server and see if there's any jobs that you've saved on the server that aren't currently on your tablet, so that's another option. For this example, I'm going to go into one that I've already filled out some of the details to keep the video a bit shorter. It's called We Store Chemicals as a company. And now, as you can see here, there's quite a lot to enter already on the job details page, but what basically happens is you work your way through these tabs along the top, so job details, spaces, evidence, forms, energy savings, job tasks, and once you've gone from start to finish, then your job is going to have all the evidence we need to create certificates for you. So to see if you're missing anything, if you think you're done, you can click on job tasks here, the last tab, and then go down to validate job data. So that's basically the app's going to check what you're missing, if there's any info you're missing, and tell you what you still need to collect before you submit the job to us. So validate job data, and you can see here anything with a cross means you're missing some information. So in the job details tab there's a cross saying I'm missing something. I could hit the arrow, open it up, and it's saying I've got an invalid ABN given. Alright, so I need to enter a valid ABN. So I can head back, go to job details, and I can see here down at ABN, there's no ABN there, so obviously that's missing and I still need to do that. It's not going to work in this case because We Store Chemicals Proprietary Limited is a company I've just made up, but the app does give you an option if you're connected to the internet to search for the company. Obviously the correct one's not going to come up because it's a made up company, but yeah, that is an option there for you. Also, you can see here the contact details of the person on site for that company is Peter Jones. I'm the retailer, Matthew, from Demand Manager. The installer is my colleague for this example, Thumpy. Also, I've picked the scheme, New South Wales in this case, but you can also choose Victoria or South Australia whenever you need, and the BCA class. So make sure you fill out absolutely everything when you first get the job on this page as much as you can, because that's going to filter through all the details you've entered here into all the forms, and it's going to fill out a lot of the paperwork for you to save you time. So for example, if I go into the forms for New South Wales, you can see here we've got the nomination form, evidence pack section 2, evidence pack section 3, a Lux report, and the building information sheet. These all need to be completed before you submit the job to Demand Manager. If we go into the nomination form, please note one of the most important aspects of the New South Wales scheme is the date that this is signed by the client. If you go down, it's already pre-filled Peter Jones as the customer and he signed it there with his signature. The date here, 10th of the 11th, 16, needs to be before the completed date. So you can't sign a nomination form after you've finished the project. This needs to be signed before the project, otherwise you're ineligible for any certificate, so that's very important to note. Up here, the app gives you the option to save the form and also send the form. This will convert it on your tablet to a PDF, and you can send it via email to your client. So I can send it to Peter Jones, so he has a copy of it, and that needs to be done for every job. Then you can hit back and get out of that nomination form. You can also go into evidence pack section 2 and section 3, and these will actually be filled out from what you enter into in the space details. So if I go into evidence pack section 2, what you can see here is that it's showing me the warehouse and the warehouse office, and shows me what the lights were before. So the existing lights, there was 30 metal halides with a magnetic reactor, and they were 400 watts each. There was no control systems before we did the upgrade. And afterwards, the new emerging lighting technology we're using is an Emerald Planet High Bay. And there's 30 of those, so it's obvious we've replaced the lights one for one. No control gear because it's integrated into that technology. Also, the nominal lamp power approved by iPod is 120 watts per fitting. And there's also no control systems for that upgrade. And it breaks it down here by space. So one of the spaces is the warehouse. The other one I've done here is an overall site plan, which I'll talk about later. And you can see there's actually no lights in that area. It's been drawn purely for the purposes of showing the overall site. The warehouse office, in there you can see the technology is slightly different because it's not a warehouse, it's an office. So we've got T8s, there's 10 of them, going to some LED panel lights, 5. Also down here, Thumpy, the electrician, needs to sign and also enter his details on that form, and it's not completed until that's done. It automatically fills out the address for you up here based on what you entered into the site details earlier on. Okay, so just going back to job details, once everything's completed, then you can start moving into the spaces. So here you can see the 3 different spaces as part of this upgrade. So I've got a warehouse with storage, overall site plan, which if I go into, you can see when you first open it for the first time, this will tell you about all the functionality of the drawing tools. So you can tap to select, tap and hold to modify, and it'll also tell you what each of these are for. So this is the select tool, this is for writing text. We'll go through them in a bit more detail, so I'll click close, and as you can see here, this is the drawing I've done, and I've labelled it. So this section is the office section, this section is the warehouse, and I've also put in measurements. So you can see that side is 40 meters, this length is 70, and that's compulsory, so you do need to enter the lengths and widths on your drawings. It's part of the scheme requirements. But under validate job data, it'll give you a red cross if you forget to do it. Also, you got your north arrow, you can move it around, change its orientation, try and get that correct. So when you first create a new space, it'll come up with space details. So here I've written as a descriptor, overall site plan, BCA class 7, and if you have a look, it says a building used for storage or display of goods for produce by sale or wholesale. So this company that I've made up is selling chemicals via wholesale, so perfect. Enter the length and width, 90 and 40, ceiling height and perimeter. The reason you need all that information is the app's going to calculate some things like IPD later, which is illumination power density, which is the amount of watts per meter squared that your lights use, and there's some limitations on that. So the app's going to calculate it all for you, which is the reason why you have to enter all those details. Also, task type. This is what determines the lux requirements. So you can see down here I've picked simple tasks and workplaces, and it gives a bit of a description of the type of things that will fit under that category. And then if you go down to AS Lux guideline here, it's saying the minimum requirement you need is 198 lux on average. And that includes a bit of a buffer allowing for degradation of lights over time. So maybe a light when you first install it's quite bright, and over time it's going to reduce in intensity. So that's why we've put a little bit of a buffer. I think the actual requirement for this place would be 160 lux, but you need to allow for the lighting to drop over time, and then several years from now we still want it to be over 160. So that's why the app is telling you we need 198 as a lux requirement. So I'll keep it as simple tasks. Also, it's going to ask here cleanliness. So obviously the dirtier the place, the more soot and dust is going to build up on your light fittings, and it's going to reduce the light output. So if I click dirty, you can see the lux has changed. It's saying you need a higher lux output to account for the fact that the site they're being installed is dirty, because it's going to get more dust over the light and it's going to reduce the amount of light output. So in this case I'm going to leave it as normal, 198. Proposed technology, you can choose from fluorescent, induction, LED only. In this case we're doing LED. And now the next section, space type, this is what's going to determine the operating hours. So you can see here, operating hours per annum, 5,000. So depending on which space type you choose under the building class, they have different operating hours. So for example, an undercover car park, 7,000 hours. Even though you've picked a storage building class, for example, if there was a chemical storage company and underneath there was a car park, for the car park you can claim 7,000 hours even if it is a BCA class 7. So for this case we're going to choose storage with shelving higher than height, 70% of the height of the aisle lighting. And that takes us to 5,000, and it also tells you down here what your maximum IPD is, so the amount of energy you can use per meter squared with your lighting. The maximum watts per meter squared is 10. Hit OK, and then it will give you this drawing page. I'm going to go through some of the drawing functionality stuff that you can do. Here you have the select tool, which allows you to click on something and manipulate it. Okay. Text, if I wanted to say that this is perhaps over here we have a secondary entrance. Okay. Then it allows you to rotate that and move it around wherever you might want. And if I want to put in a door, this is an option for a door, that's an option for a window, so I can put in a door here. You just drag it over the line and you can enter your secondary entrance there. If you need to zoom in for a bit more accuracy, then it's possible with these minimize, zoom, or if you're on a tablet you can use your fingers to zoom in and out. Also, some of the other drawing functionality besides the text is you could draw rooms with this square. So perhaps maybe there was another room in the corner over here, so you can just overlay those two, and then it's still possible to put in a door or a window. And then you can enable that one. Maybe that is that's a section where they sell directly to customers that come up to the window, for example. So you just need to label it appropriately. Also, we have a circular drawing tool if you need that. Maybe you want to use it to put pillars in a car park or something. All's possible. If you don't want it there anymore and it's selected, you just need to go up here and hit delete. You can draw single room walls, for example, and rotate those. Also, it is possible when you select to draw a wall, up here it says solid wall. You can also draw a hidden wall, which looks like a dotted line. Also, if I delete that, there is an option for a clear wall, which sort of works like a door, just allows you to block out part of your drawing. So those are all the options for drawing. You can draw curves. Okay, rotate. And also you can draw more if you want. Undo is an option up here. You have a freehand tool, for example, if there's some weird architectural feature that was wavy, it is possible to do that. Then one of the compulsory parts for every drawing, as I mentioned earlier, is you do need to put the measurements on the side. So 70 meters down the side here I've put. So this one, you can drag it out any direction, and when you release it, it'll ask you what dimension is it. And it's remembered from before when we entered space details over here that the length of the room was 90 and the width was 40. In this case, I might want to choose other length, and I can enter whatever I want. Maybe that's 45 meters, and there you go, it's saying 45 now. With Samsung, if you ever want to edit or delete something, what you need to do is long press on it. So press and hold down with your finger or the mouse on something, and you can hit delete. Over here we also have, this is for control devices. So if I want to enter a control device, it's saying at the moment no control device is possible because the lights that I've installed on site don't actually have any occupancy sensors or anything like that. But that's what that one is for, and also this is for selecting which lights are on that circuit with the control device. The next item is an elevator, and that's more of an orientation feature for if an auditor goes to site and they want to know which part of the room they're standing in when they get to site holding your floor plan, and they can see that over in this corner there is a, for example, elevator, and they're standing next to it, then they'll be able to tell where in the room they are to help them start counting the light fittings. So that's the purpose of having a lift option in there. Also, maybe there's a mezzanine here going to an upstairs office. So it is possible to put in a staircase, which is just more of an orientation thing. It's just to show whereabouts the staircase is in the room. And so the auditor can see, oh, I'm standing by the stairs, therefore I must be here. Also, this one is another type of staircase, but this is purely done for fire stairs. So obviously with the current view, we're looking down on the building from a bird's eye view. Think of this as sort of like a side-on view. So imagine that you're looking at the side of a building and this is the fire stairs. So for example, this might be level 1. Level 1, and this might be ground level, and the last one, basement. And you can actually put the lights on, so you can put a light here, here, and here, and that's purely done for fire stairs. If you wanted to enter another level as well, you can do so. So you can just make it as long or as short as you need. There you go. So then you could have B1 and basement 2. Moving on, you've got the air conditioning unit. You can either prove air conditioning with a photo of a geotag date stamp photo of the aircon unit, or you can draw it on, perhaps there's an AC unit there, so you can draw it on your floor plan. Alright, so that's pretty much all the drawing features that you've got here on the side. I might just clean this up a little bit and delete the items that we don't need. And then we can go on to some more of the functionality available with different spaces, for example. Delete. Now, down here, you can turn off snap to grid, which basically just allows you to be more accurate with the drawing. So you can see I can very accurately move the wall around, but if you hit snap to grid, it's going to jump sections to allow you to get it horizontal or vertically more easy. Also, you can have the option to turn the grid on or off, depending what your preference is. And also, there's an option down here to show technology. There's no lights that I've actually put into this floor plan, so it's not going to appear, or the lights aren't going to appear, but I'll show you this in a later space where I have put some lights on. Now, if I delete the secondary entrance, delete the stairs, delete, delete. Right, so this is back to looking a little bit more like when we first started the video. Now, options here are when you're on site, you're going to need to take a photo of the space before. So you can click the camera on your tablet, and all you need to do is click on the camera, and it will bring up the camera on the tablet, and you can take a photo. You need to take a photo of the space that includes a little bit of the ceiling and a little bit of the floor, but just showing the type of activity that's undergoing in that area. So obviously we've said it's a warehouse, so you want to see obviously storage of warehouse of chemicals, if that's what we've said it is. So that's what they're looking for in that photo. I won't take it as I'm on a laptop, so I don't have a camera to use, so cancel. Also, this here is where you add the lights. So here we've got a floor plan, but up here we can see drawing before and drawing after. So you can actually toggle between the lights that were there before and the lights that were there after. If you want, hit the technology and you can see if you want to add a new light, click the plus button and you can either choose a technology that you've saved as a favorite. So in early tutorials we talked about how to save lights as a favorite. So this is one that I've just saved as a favorite there so I don't have to look through the giant list each time, the Emerald Planet. Or if I want to select a different one, you can select other and you can go back through that large list. For example, if I wanted to select E-light, type of high bay, I can make it a favorite here and also select it, and it enters all the details for me, and then I can click OK and it appears on the side. And if you want to start adding technology, it's as simple as clicking where they are on the floor plan, and then if you go to, we're currently in the after drawing, so if you hit before, you can see those lights aren't there because beforehand we had this one, which is a metal halide. So we're replacing the metal halide with the new E-light. So if I go back to before, click on that, I can click where the old lights used to be. Now, some of the functionality available on Lightwork, which is going to save you some time, is it allows you to select these, delete, is you can actually copy across. So for example, we've got 4 lights that are in the warehouse here, and I want, wherever, because I'm replacing them one for one, wherever there's a new E-light going in, it's going to be replacing a metal halide. So what I can do here is hit the like for like button on the top right, like for like. So you see here it says this utility copies the positions of before and after tech, or vice versa. So here you've got the before technology, which is a metal halide, and the after technology, which says Emerald Planet. Now that's not correct, so I can click and say it's actually going to be an E-light. So I can choose that one. And now it's saying, do you want to copy wherever there's a metal halide to become an E-light? But in this case, I've already drawn on the after floor plan where the E-lights are, and I haven't yet drawn on the metal halide. So I want wherever there's an E-light, I want there to become a metal halide before. And then all you need to do is hit OK. Technology copy complete. So now if I go to the before, you can see it's put in those 4 metal halides and it's just copied that across from where I had the new lights. So that's one of the functionalities you can do. So when you put all the old lights in, for example, or all the new lights, whichever order you want to do it in, then you can copy one to the other. Also, if you have a lot of lights, for example, that you want to put on, there is the option to say, alright, I've got 3 rows of 6, and you can choose 3 rows of 6 lights. OK. And now you just click and hold your mouse down and drag it out. So that's a way for you to quickly put on, and you can see it's counting here for you, 22 lamps. So for example, if that's what the actual floor plan looks like, and I can go to after, and those lights are missing currently, and this time I can go like for like again, and I say wherever there's a metal halide, I now want there to be an E-light, or I now want there to be this Emerald Planet high bay. You can click OK, and you can see now all of them have changed to become Emerald Planets. Okay, so that's how you use the like for like function, and that's how you use the grid function. Okay, the last section of this Spaces tab is the lux meter. So this is a little lux meter down here. You can click the lux meter, click it again, and up here in the red it's telling you what average lux you need. So currently you've taken no lux readings, so you've got 0 lux and you need an average of 198. And also it measures the length 40 by 70 in this case of the room, and it's saying you need 25 readings, and that's according to the standard. So what you can do now after you select the lux meter is just click somewhere on the page where you've taken the reading, or ask you to enter the reading. Let's say you get a reading of 300. Take the reading and it will appear on the screen. You can move that around at a later date if you want. Then just click on the screen again, 256, and you keep doing that until you've taken your 25 readings as is requested by the app. And also you can see our current average is 319, so we're above standard, so it's gone green. And the number of readings when you get to 25, that'll also go green to let you know that you've done enough readings. Alright, so that's pretty much the functionality of the space section in the app. And now you'll be able to see here, as I mentioned earlier, you can get rid of the show technology if you need a bit more space to be able to work with your lux readings, and also you can take the lux readings on or off if you want to. When you're done, you can hit save. In this case, I'm not going to save it. And we're back out to the other space types. The next tab you have is the evidence tab. This is where you're going to collect different types of evidence. Most of them are going to be photos, but you can actually take photos of documents using the tablet. So for example, if you have a tax invoice that you need to collect, take a photo of it, make sure it's clear enough to be seen. When you take the photo, it's very important that in the top left-hand corner here, we've got the time the photo was taken and the date, and also the geotag, so the geolocation that you've taken that picture. If either of these two things are missing after you take a picture, your photo is not eligible. So we can't use it as evidence, which means you may have to go back at a later date and take that picture again. So make sure you've got location services turned on your tablet so that you can actually communicate with the GPS and it can put this in. If you're on site and you're having issues, call Demand Manager, because we don't want you to have to go back to site and take images again. So it's very important that every photo you take has this geotag and date stamp. Otherwise the photo is useless to us. Alright, so that's a photo of the facade of the building, and it will tell you if you see a camera, for example, but there's no image there, like this one, under the evidence $5 copayment, means you're missing that piece of evidence. If you can see here, it's saying evidence of the building facade, and I've got a picture of it, and I go into it, and there's geotag and date stamp, then that is done. So what we can do, just to check that we've actually captured it, is go out of evidence to job tasks again, validate job data, and now we can go down and see evidence, building facade. It's got a green tick. So it said we've taken that photo, so we know that part of the evidence requirements we've already completed. Alright, so if we go back into evidence again, some of the other things you need to prove are the $5 copayment in New South Wales, which we've talked about earlier. If you have any queries on that, please contact Demand Manager. Currently, the evidence we need is a copy of a bank statement from the lighting retailer or installer showing the money landing in their account from the client, and that bank statement needs to be printed off, signed and dated as being true and correct by the retailer or by the installer. So that is a minimum requirement we currently need. Also, certificate of electrical compliance for every job, and it's very specific what they ask for. So you can see here, for every installation you need a CCW, and it also says it needs to be signed and issued by a licensed electrician. It also needs to have the installation date and address. You need the type and quantity of lamps and ballasts removed on there. You need the type and quantity of lamps and ballasts installed. So you need model numbers written on there, you need the type of ballast, if it's magnetic or not, the type of light, the wattage of all the lights. It needs to be very detailed. And also if there's any control systems such as a lighting occupancy sensor, that also needs to be on the certificate of electrical compliance. If you miss any of that, we're just going to ask you to go back and amend it. So make sure you do a very detailed CCW. You can then take a picture of that if you like. I've blacked out private information here, but you can see geotagged and date stamped, and it's just an example, a photo of the certificate of electrical compliance. Also, tax invoice, it's very clear about what it requires under there. And then decommissioning evidence. So effective from jobs done after the 15th of May in 2016 for New South Wales, you must have a recycling certificate. So it says exactly what needs to be on there, and also speak to demand manager if you're not sure what needs to appear on your recycling certificate. But once again, just taking a photo. Now, as you start getting down, site plan or operating license, depending on the building class, there's different requirements you need to prove the BCA class. For example, if you're doing an upgrade in a medical centre, you need a copy of their medical practicing license. Or if, for example, it might be, if it's a car park, then you don't actually need any additional evidence. But if it's, for example, a restaurant, then you need to also upload a copy of their website. And the website can't be True Local or Yellow Pages. It needs to actually be their own website. So it varies for different building classes. So please talk to Demand Manager if you're not sure what additional evidence you require. Okay, if you've got any other evidence that you think might be relevant, such as a floor plan, or in this case, I've taken a picture of an air conditioning unit, which is a way to prove air conditioning under the New South Wales scheme. It's geotagged and date stamped photo of the unit itself. But anything else you can think of that might be relevant, just keep adding as many photos as you need. Also down here, we start getting into space technology images. So it remembers from under the spaces tab that you put in metal halides that you'd removed that were 400 watt with a magnetic reactor. And it's asking you, the tablet will ask you to take photos of that. So as you can see here, you need to be able to read the wattage. So it says there a 400 watt globe, and that photo is geotagged and date stamped. So it needs to be able to be read by an auditor. So they're going to open this photo, see that you've claimed 400 watts, and they want to be able to see on the bulb that you've taken a photo, it says 400 watts. So it's all about proving how much energy you've saved. Also got another photo, 400 watts. And then also the ballast. Don't forget the ballast. So here you can see it's 400 watt metal halide. And you need to be able to read the writing on the side of the ballast. If it's blurry or you can't read it, then it's not a useful photo, and we'll just have to send you back to site to get another one. As you add more technologies, it's going to ask you for more photos. So one of the other spaces I've done, I've removed some T8s with magnetic ballast with no EEI marked. So it's the app asking me, please get some photos of that tech. So you can see here, here's the ballast. It doesn't actually say EEI equals anywhere on it, so that is an unmarked ballast. Also, you want to be able to read the wattage on the lamp. This is a bad example, as it doesn't actually have the wattage written on there, but it should usually say 36W, which is 36 watts, and that's what the auditor wants to see. You need to be able to read it from the photos. Also, as you move down in the evidence, it's saying space images. So remember, in the spaces I drew space warehouse, I also drew overall site plan, and I also drew warehouse office. And so it's asking me for photos of each of those drawings. So it wants an image of the space beforehand, the lighting upgrade, image of the space after, and you can see here that I haven't taken an overall site plan photo yet, so it's missing a photo. Also, I haven't taken an after image of the warehouse office, but I've taken a before one. So you can see here's an example. That photo is probably a little bit high. You want to be able to see the ground and the roof in your photos of the area. The whole purpose of those space images is to prove the building or space type class. So the auditor wants to see if you've called it an office, that it's an office. Alright, so we've reached the bottom of the evidence tab. So now just to quickly summarize again, we've gone through the job details where you enter all of the info, and that then flows through into, into the forms. We've also gone through some of the functionality of the spaces, and to be honest, spaces is where you're going to be spending most of your time. It's where it's going to take the longest, you have to do the most data entry, and drawings take a while, so this is where you're going to spend most of your time. So you can see in the warehouse office, I've only drawn the lights for the office. So I've left all the lights off the warehouse, but I've drawn them in the office. And if you click on the light technology here, you can see B is a T8 magnetic with no EEI marked, 36 watt. And you can see here that they're 2B. And the way that I've done that is I've selected it, and because each fitting has 2 tubes in it. So then up here the option is 2. So you can pick the number of tubes. It probably shouldn't say tubes, it should say globes, because you can sometimes get those compact fluorescents that have 2 in there, so you might choose 2 for compact fluorescence. Or maybe if you have a twin bulb high bay, it's possible to pick 2 tubes as well. So even if you have 3 or 4, you can do that as well. So let's, in this case, add another 2 tube fitting, and then wherever I put it, comes up with 2B. So that's just an example. And then if you go to the after, you can see here it's got the letter D, and D is a SAL LED luminaire. So I'm assuming that's a LED panel light. And once again, like we mentioned before, if I was to delete all of these in the after tech, and I want to copy those across, so it's going from 2 to 1, you can do like for like again. So here we don't want the metal halide. What I'm talking about is the T8s. So you can see all of the T8s with no EEI mark, 36 watt. There's 10 of them currently. We want that. You can change the arrow, but we want to go from T8 to this way, so the arrow is that way. And we're going to say to this SAL LED panel light. And because a panel light, it's just going to be one panel light replacing 2 tubes, you would have the tubes as 1. If, for example, you were going to replace it a tube with another LED tube, for example, you could pick 2. It's not allowed in New South Wales, but it is in Victoria. But it is possible to replace 2 for 2, but in this case we're doing 2 for 1. So you hit OK, and you can see technology copy complete, and the after, all those panel lights are back. Alright, moving on to forms now. So all these forms are compulsory. Just be aware that everything in this app that has somewhere for you to enter some information is compulsory. We haven't asked you for anything that's not required as a minimum. Obviously there's a lot to do, but we've tried to keep it as simple as possible. We've already been through the nomination form earlier. Evidence Pack Section 2 we went through. Evidence Pack Section 3, it's already entered in the installation address for you. And then as you go down, there's a couple of different options. So, were the requirements yet met for the Lux standard? Yes. Was lighting design software used? If it was, click yes and fill out part B. If it wasn't, which most likely it wasn't, you're just going to take the Lux readings after you've done the 1-for-1 replacement. Click no. And then you're going to fill out part C. So part C. Have the Lux measurements been carried out in accordance with the standard? Yes. If you need any information on this, please contact the demand manager. Qualifications. So you can say, for example, you might be a lighting designer or an electrician that's worked in the lighting industry for a long time, whatever your qualifications are. Maybe you've done a short course on lighting. Also, are the other points clearly indicated on the reflected ceiling plan? Yes, that's what we just did in the earlier space details. Also, have you been compliant with lumen depreciation? The app, if you follow the rules in the app, you've already taken that into account. Glare, yes. Uniformity of illuminance, obviously we don't want shadows all over the floor. Yes. And this is to do with safe movement and IPD. The app will tell you if you've met IPD. Once you've ticked all those, then you need to sign and date. Quite often, demand manager will be a contractor to your company. Make sure you don't forget the date. OK. Click to sign. MS. And you can then save the form and you're done. So the Lux report, this is where we're going to save you some time in the app. If you click on the Lux report, what it's done here is taken all the different spaces that were in earlier and also the Lux readings that you've taken and automatically fill out the Lux report for you. So here you can see in the warehouse storage, the requirement was 198 Lux. Our average is 237 Lux, so we've met the standard. The maximum IPD allowed is 8, and our actual IPD is 1.3. So we're under IPD, which is good, and we're over Lux, which is good. And then you can also go down and see the individual readings. So we didn't take any Lux readings for the warehouse, or I didn't save the ones that we took, so that's why it's missing. Also, you can see here, these are all the Lux readings that I took in the warehouse. And that basically fills out the Lux report for you. There's nothing you need to do in this Lux report if you do everything correctly in the spaces. The last one, building lighting information sheet. This is compulsory. Needs to be signed by the customer. And the app will automatically put down the maintenance schedule for you. So it'll tell you how often you should update or clean or change the lights. And then the client, in this case Peter Jones, just needs to make sure he signs off on that. And don't forget the date. This will actually be signed by you on behalf of Demand Manager. It's basically saying that you've met all the standards with your lighting design, and also you've taken some Lux measurements to make sure you meet the standards, so make sure you sign that one. Save the form. Alright, you can head back out. So we've gone through each one of these forms and they're all compulsory. The next tab is Energy Savings tab. You don't actually have to do anything on this tab. This is just to sort of give you a breakdown. So you can see the total number of certificates I can expect for this job is 482. Regional factor, which is determined by the postcode, is only 1, so you're not going to get any, you get extra certificates if you're regional. The first one, 482, is total megawatt hours. This one is energy saving certificates, and it also tells you the minimum co-payment. This is very important. You must charge X GST, a minimum amount to your client. So in this case, if this was a project you did, you must charge them at least $2,414.05 X GST. Don't forget the 5 cents either, because they're very strict on that. Then if you want to actually drill down to a little bit more detail, you can see in the warehouse, that's 5,000 hours. This is how many megawatt hours you're getting to claim under the scheme. And you can actually expand it, and it tells you exactly what lights are there. So it's saying before we had 30 metal halides with 400 watts, and it's going to 30 of these 121 watt Emerald Planet high bays. It tells you what space type you selected. And also you can see the overall site plan that we drew. This one. Doesn't actually have any lights in there, so you get no certificates. It's saying there's metal halides, but there's 0 of them being installed, and it's saying that there's emerald planets, but there's 0 being installed, and also it's saying that there's some other lights that haven't been installed, and there's also E-light high bays that haven't been installed, so that's why everything's 0 in that one. And then the last one, the warehouse office, saying there's no metal halides been installed, but there's 10 T8s being removed to 5 panel lights, and so you can see you're going to get 14.9 ESCs for that section. So that's pretty much a rundown of the energy savings tab. Now we've done a bit more since we first started the video, so if I go into validate job data now, we've got a few more green ticks. Obviously I'm still missing some stuff. I didn't upload a copy of the tax invoice, so I need to take a photo of that, or as we mentioned, it needs to be a photo of the bank statement which has been signed off by yourself, showing the money landing in your account as true and correct. Also, decommissioning evidence. I took a photo of the recycling certificate, so that's a green tick. Also, building lighting information sheet, the one we went through just before. If I open that up, it's saying it's missing the customer's signature. So it's actually missing one of the signatures, so I can go back and remember to get that. And once they're all green ticks, then you're pretty much done. So if I go back again, we've done everything we could besides the ABN and job details. We've drawn all the spaces and taken all the Lux readings and photos. Under evidence, we go through and make sure we're not missing any pictures. In this case, I'm going to have to miss a few as I don't have them on hand. Then in forms, make sure you filled out everything and signed it. Energy savings tab is just to give you some information. Now you're sort of getting close to being able to submit the job to Demand Manager. So, job tasks. A few different options here. You can hit Save to Cloud, and all that's going to do is just save, when you connect to the internet, save the job to the server, so there's a backup copy. So when you hit Save, most of the time everything's going to get saved onto your tablet, but when you hit Save to Cloud, it's going to save to your tablet, and also it's going to save it to a server. So if you lose your tablet, there's still a copy of it somewhere available. You can load a job from the cloud, so for example, if there's a job on the server that you need to download, that's an option. Ignore forward job to another user for the moment. The functionality is not great. We need to make some improvements there. Also, email Excel job data. So if you ever need to get all of the information that's in the app, it can come through in sort of an Excel format. So you just need to click on this and you can email it off to yourself. Then validate job data is the one we keep referring to. Make sure you don't try and send the job to Demand Manager until it's all green ticks wherever possible. Lastly, submit to Demand Manager. Looks very similar to validate job data, but this time you'll see there's a button down here that says submit to Demand Manager. If you try and submit when there's red crosses, it won't let you. So it says several key pieces of information are missing. So it's basically telling you you're not finished. Go back and collect some additional evidence. But if, for example, you decide that the evidence of the $5 copayment, you're going to email that through separately, you can go into evidence, go down to $5 copayment and tick, I'm going to email separately. Then when you go back to job tasks, submit to DM, $5 copayments become a green tick. Okay? So it is possible to send things outside of the app, but just make sure before you submit to Demand Manager that everything is green. Okay, so I think I've been through everything you need to know for New South Wales and also some of the tricks in the app. So I think some of the main tricks are copying the technologies across from one to the other using like for like, also changing the tubes from 2 to 1, also taking lux readings, adding new technologies. Obviously there's a lot to learn, so if you do need any retraining or you want to come in person, that's fine. But please make sure that all your photos are geotagged and date stamped, as those aren't useful to us if they're not geotagged and date stamped. I guess that's all for now. What I'll do is create one similar to this for Victoria and South Australia. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call the office.